Good evening, brethren. Tonight we're gonna study Malachi chapter 1. Very good study, good book. Well, obviously they're all nice, as you guys know. Every time we read them, we find the beauty in whatever the scripture is saying. Um, but what I mean is that this book, from start to finish, has to do with our time. Obviously, refers prophetically to what happened with Mashiach. Obviously, this book was written before Mashiach came and prophesied the coming of the first and also the coming of the last. The name, well, as most people know it, Malachi, actually comes from Malaki, as you can see here, right here in Hebrew, Malaki. This right here is Malach, which means messenger, what normally people know as angel, and the Yud pretty much means my. So Malachi or Malaki is my messenger. So that's the meaning of the name of this prophet. Some believe that nobody knows who this prophet was and just see this name as a title, as a prophet that Yahweh sent, but not necessarily that he was called by his parents the messenger of Yah or my messenger. And now that I said messenger of Yah, that is because Yud is the first letter of Yah. So, for instance, Malkiyah or Malakiyah in that case, Malakiyah would be the Malach of Yah. But here it's only Malaki, so therefore it will be my messenger. And like I said, so some people believe it may have been obviously a prophet, but nobody knows who exactly, because a title. However, obviously, it can be a name, and that's how also um, people see it as well. So, that's the name of the prophet, Malaki, my messenger, and I'll begin with self. Malaki, my messenger. Verse 1. The message of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malaki. This name, like I was saying, means my messenger or my angel. Therefore, even though obviously he was a man, a prophet, it represents, because of the name, the Malach of Yahweh. Therefore, Mikael, in this case, coming as a prophet. So, Malaki represents Mikael, who is the Malach of Yahweh, coming to the earth as the prophet like Moshe prophesied in Deuteronomy. So, the message of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malaki. Also, the fact that it says the word of Yahweh obviously refers to Mashiach, for we know in the beginning was the word, and the word was with Elohim. We read it last week. So it says here, Devar Yahweh, the word of Yahweh to Israel. So here we have Mashiach represented, who came to Israel first, and then through the hand, Beyad, so the last represented by the hand of Yahweh, who happens to be the Malak of Yahweh. So we have here a representation of Yahweh who sends word, obviously through Mashiach, to Israel through his Malach. So the message of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, said Yahweh. But you asked, in what way have you loved us? This is as well important for Yahweh tells us, Yahweh does love us, obviously, for he is love himself. So it is in his nature, if we could use that word. So the fact that people are in darkness is what makes them not know that or forget it or think otherwise. For they see darkness and believe that either light doesn't exist or is evil, for it allows darkness, not understanding that it is people who have turned off the lights pretty much through their sins. So a lot of people, even atheists, become atheists because they are mad at the Most High. And when you try to explain to them that there is a creator, they use excuses regarding the state of the world, and which is consequence of the actions of humanity, and they blame it on the Most High, pretty much at the end, for creating humanity. I mean, they always try to find a way to make him the guilty one, right? So they would say, even if it's humanity, he created humanity, but he had a plan. It is like a misbehaved son who says that they shouldn't have had him just because he is being punished or corrected regarding some action. Obviously, the parent, a good parent, will always love that child, no matter how old he may be, and even his bad actions, even when correcting that person, that son or daughter, and being perceived as mean, pretty much. So Yahweh says, I have loved you, said Yahweh, but you asked, in what way have you loved us? Like they say, how? Where is the love? Why is there this, that? And Yahweh says, was not Esav Jacob's brother, declares Yahweh, and I love Jacob. Look how it says in the present here. Let me see in the Hebrew verse 2. So it says, I loved you, says Yahweh. And you say, in what way have you loved us? So Yahweh asks, wasn't Esav the brother of Yaakov, declares Yahweh? But have, and I love Yaakov. That's interesting. I love Yaakov because Yahweh is a mighty one of the living. Even though Yaakov was gone from this reality when this was said, still in the present, for he is alive in the presence of Yahweh. So I love Yaakov, for he still is. But I hated Asaph, past, for he passed. He actually died for rejecting eternity, for rejecting what he sold to Yaakov in order for him to receive eternity, pretty much. So, Ve'ohav et Yaakov, but I love Yaakov. But Esav, I hate it. I hate it. This word is also connected with an enemy, pretty much. Obviously, like normally people, like through justice, hate the enemy. Through mercy, Mashiach tells us to love the enemy in order to turn the enemy into a friend. So he hated Esav. This is an important verse, huge verse, and one that we should always remember when debating some, because there are people who claim that Yahweh loves everybody. And in that case, that would be a contradiction. He is love, but because he is love, he has pretty much, we could say, restrictions in the sense of, for instance, when we see that Yahweh, even if we are unfaithful, he remains faithful because he cannot change. He is, and in fact, we are going to read the fact that Yahweh does not change in this book, actually. So he doesn't change. He restricted himself pretty much to create a space in which matter could exist and in which darkness could manifest. If he didn't restrict himself, there would be no darkness and there would be no reality in which we could exist. So he did it for our sake. But people reject that, reject the gift of free will, and end up becoming darkness pretty much through their actions, and therefore becoming hated because it is the opposite of light. Therefore, if light comes from love, darkness from hate, and produces hate. So my point is, obviously, Asaph was a sinner. He was filled with the leaven of the Pharisees, for he would act as set apart, as pure. And Yitzhak believed him, sadly, but he would be evil when his dad was not seeing him. So that's one of the main reasons why he's hated. Then from him came a lot of evil people who did a lot of evil to Yaakov as a nation, to Israel. And they became even more hated through the Amalekites, for instance. So we can see this as people and as two people and also as two nations. The brothers and the two nations that came from it, Israel, and then from Asaph, who was also called Edom, came Rome and the false Yahudim. The Yahudim were the Jewish people, most of them, not all. So, and I love Yaakov, but I have hated Asaph. And I have laid waste his mountains and his inheritance for the jackals of the wilderness. Remember that we read the destruction of Asaph prophesied in Obadiah a couple studies back. So what we read regarding what is going to happen to Asaph, in a way, prophetically, is being referred to here. And I love Yaakov. So as I was saying, many people say God loves everybody. God loves the sinner. If God loves the sinner, it's because God is fortune, according to the scriptures, Isaiah 65, and fortune is Satan. Therefore, God is not the most high creator. He is not love to begin with. He may be an illusion of it. He may act like, but he is not love. He doesn't love. He cannot love. But since he is evil, he is one with those who are evil, and therefore practice sin. And if they are one, obviously, it seems as if they love each other, for it is the love of the ego, of oneself. They love themselves. And since they are one, they share something that appears like love. It is an illusion of it. Like scripture says, even evil people love their family members, some of them at least. And I mean some of the family members. But the evil people, they have at least one person whom they love. And it's because they see a connection and they see that they need that person for something that they enjoy. So at the end, they love themselves because they just love what they get from that person or got. So, but I have hated Esav, and I have laid waste his mountains. It's pretty much his kingdoms, as in those two nations who became a couple different kingdoms in a way, and will come down. And his inheritance for the jackals of the wilderness, which pretty much represent demons. Demons, what they represent, of course. Obviously, in the physical sense, it means that the land will become wilderness, pretty much desolated, and wild animals will inhabit it instead of people who thought were important, thinking that place was set apart and spiritual, but it was just wilderness, which will eventually manifest also in physical. So verse 3, letanot midbar. Now, this is important because it says jackals, right? But it says tanot, plural, feminine, could be of tanin. But let me go and see the Hebrew. I mean, the concordance. You see, tanin, dragons, a bit different than jackals, right? A whole different image. It confirms what I was saying regarding demons. In this case, would be fallen angels. So, Tav Nun, Tanah, right here at least, or Tan. You see dragon here. It said sea monster, but it says in the midbar, in the wilderness. So a different type of dragon, a monster or dragon of land, because it would be in the desert, is what Yahweh is promising Asaph. You see how it says, this is interesting. So Tan, which was the root of the other one, the other one was female. The ones that we are seeing on Malachi are female, for it ends with Ot, Tanot. Ot is the female. Tanin or Tanim in that case with mem at the end would be plural male. This, as you can see, is the male. And look how it says dragon, maybe the dinosaur. So they are saying that dragons are dinosaurs, and therefore that they existed with men, for they are in scriptures, not just in this verse, different other verses, with a word bigger than this. But this word, for instance, only appears once in Ezekiel 32, just like that. And as you can see here, they translated it as well. So they don't believe that the dragons existed with men, so they rather write well instead of what it says. So let me go back to Malaki. I have loved you, said Yahweh, but you asked, in what way have you loved us? Was not Esav Yaakov's brother, declares Yahweh, and I love Yaakov, but I have hated Esav and have laid waste his mountains and his inheritance for the dragons of the wilderness. For the dragons of the wilderness. If Edom says, we have been beaten down, let us return and build the ruins. Yahweh of hosts said thus, let them build, but I tear down. Let them build, but I'll tear down. And they shall be called border of wrongness, and the people against whom Yahweh is enraged forever. So it's interesting that both nations that came, or both parts of Asaph, like I said, Rome and most of the Jewish people, well, Rome became an empire and in a way still rules, as we know from the statue that Nebuchadnezzar saw in Daniel 2, that had the legs of iron, and that represents Rome going till the end of times where the feet were, and they were a mix of iron and clay. So the empire, the kingdom of the end times of the beast, is a mix of Rome and something else. So what we are seeing here seems to point to what will happen in the future, like in the millennium, for instance. Obviously, the most evil will go with the enemy, and they will be in the lake of fire, and they will be known as those whom Yahweh hated. But if we read this in a more physical or literal sense, because of the history and the fact that we are about to end the time of this history and enter the millennium, when pretty much Yahweh will give the rule of the earth completely to his people, to his chosen. In that time, everything will be clear. There will be no way to fool anyone. Everything will be in the light. So those nations, or those people who have hated Yahweh, who have acted wrong, pretty much like the border of wrongness against his people, they will be known clearly, because nowadays they are famous. They are loved by most people because they are able to act like they are righteous while they are the opposite. But the veil is coming down. More and more information is coming out regarding these leaders, actors, and all of those people that I mean. And obviously, there's a lot of wicked people that are not famous. Or even, actually, the most wicked people remain hidden above those called the Illuminati. But those most wicked people who remain hidden are very, very few, in fact. So, if Edom says, "We have been beaten down, let us return and build the ruins," Yahweh of hosts said thus, "Let them build, but I tear down." So anything that they build, Yahweh will bring it down. In a way, he has, and they keep building up, and Yahweh destroys it, and they keep building up. Even those two parts of the nation of Asaph that I mentioned, in one way or another, they have been building nonstop, but Yahweh keeps bringing down because of their sins. Their consequences bring destruction to what they try to do. We have, and for instance, like the fact that Yahweh destroyed the Tower of Babel, and now they are trying to build it again, but not a literal tower, just in the spiritual sense. They're trying to do the exact same thing through the New World Order. Reason why in Russia they were burning, well, I say reason why in the spiritual sense, right? We talked about that the other day, and the artist didn't actually know the story of Babel that well, but still the prophetical act was pretty interesting. So anyways, the New World Order is represented by the Tower of Babel. That's what they're doing nowadays, and Yahweh will bring it down, just like he destroyed the Tower of Babel. So we have been beaten down, let us return and build the ruins. Yahweh of hosts said thus, let them build, but I tear it down, and they shall be called border of wrongness. Border of wrongness. So it is also possible that there will be, that place, mainly geographically, the place where they would build and rebuild, would become part of the place where they will be punished. And that's why there will be a border where the wrongness would inhabit. And the people, and I mean like in Sheol, for instance, in Sheol, we know that the souls go some to paradise and some to hell, and they can see each other, but there's a border, there's a chasm, remember, that doesn't allow the ones from paradise to go to hell, or those from hell to go to paradise. So there's a border, and on the other side, there's wrongness. And the people against whom Yahweh is enraged forever, like those who will be in hell forever, in fire forever, because hell will be thrown in the lake of fire after 1,000 years. And your eyes shall see, and you shall say, great is Yahweh beyond the border of Israel. So look at the comparison. The border of wrongness, that of Asaph, where pretty much we could say hell will be. Even we could even say perhaps lake of fire after 1,000 years. And then the border of Israel, where his people will be, like the separation between paradise and hell within Sheol. And your eyes shall see, and you shall say, great is Yahweh beyond the border of Israel. Also, by saying beyond the border of Israel, the fact obviously is that Israel will rule over the whole earth, right? Israel will be surrounded by the nations that Yahweh will allow to enter the 1,000 years and eventually even the millennium. I mean, there will be nations. So that's why Yahweh will be great even beyond the border of Israel, not only with Israel, but also beyond the border with all the nations. For in that time, everything will be revealed, and therefore it will be completely revealed that Yahweh is good. Something that sadly, a lot of people cannot see. As we saw in the beginning of this chapter, I loved you, but you said, in what way have you loved us? So, and your eyes shall see, and you shall say, great is Yahweh beyond the border of Israel. Also, that confirms what I was saying regarding this book and Malaki representing the last Michael coming to the earth, now beyond the border of Israel, because the first time he came to Israel, and now he's coming through the nations. He first came as through a virgin, as an Israelite. Now he's a Israelite genetically, but as a thief in the night, appears as a Gentile, for he comes through the nations. And nowadays, Asaph is called the chosen, the Yehudi, while some who are called Gentiles are actually Israelites, amongst them the last. Just like Yahweh also said that he would be known from the east to the west, like the sun who goes from the east to the west, like the Son of Righteousness that appears also in Malachi 4. So we'll see that eventually. And your eyes shall see, and you shall say, great is Yahweh beyond the border of Israel. For Yahweh will manifest not only in Israel, not only for the Israelites, he also came to save the nations, the whole world, obviously those who accept his salvation. This that comes next is huge. And please also remember it when it comes to talking to a person regarding the name. A son esteems his father, and a servant his sovereign, his master. In this case, master even, well, let me see the word that we have here first. Verse 6 in Hebrew. A son honors the father, and a servant, a slave, his sovereign, Adonai. And if I am a father, so let me go back here. So, and if I am the father, where is my esteem? So a son honors, esteems his father. If I am a father, where is my honor, my esteem? So it is very interesting that we have in the Old Covenant, the Tanakh, Yahweh saying, I am the Father. And I say that because some complain about Mashiach saying that Yahweh is the Father, because even those, well, it was pretty hypocritical, which is part of the leaven of the Pharisees. They would claim to be, as Israelites, the son of Yahweh. When Mashiach appears as the only begotten son, they got jealous. So they killed him, not understanding that the only way that they could remain children was to keep themselves in the word of Yahweh, who manifested in the flesh, but they rejected and killed. But through that, Yahweh would bring salvation to the rest of the world, which it was part of the plan. So they would claim that they believe that Yahweh is their father. Well, they wouldn't say Yahweh, of course. But even though they claim that he's their father, they don't see him as a father or talk to him as a father, or I don't know, is unless their father really doesn't love them that much, or the way their father treats them or whatever, but their relationship is not that of family with the creator. It is like that of a slave and his master. And that's why Mashiach said that he came to make us friends, because before that, under the law, we were slaves. They want to remain as slaves, claiming to have a father, yet not actually believing in the father, only in the father of lies, which is the problem. They became a lie, they live a lie, so their father is the father of lies. So, going back to this verse, a son esteems his father, and a servant his sovereign. And if I am the father, where is my esteem? And if I am the sovereign, where is my fear? And if I am the sovereign, where is my fear? Said Yahweh of hosts to you priests who despise my name. So look how these two questions end, and then we'll see the answer. Said Yahweh of hosts to you priests who despise my name. The priest prohibited the people from pronouncing the name, took the name from scriptures, and that caused everybody to forget the name, not know the name, call on a different name, etc. And that made it so that people would give honor to another one. The fact that people reject the name, the people try to take away the name from scriptures, from the mouth of the people, it is a way of not wanting to honoring the Father while claiming that it is for his honor. So they claim it is to keep his honor, when in fact they are taking honor from him, for they are not making him known. So that's pretty much where I was also saying regarding a father and a master. A master may get angry for stuff that doesn't make sense. A father will always look for your well-being, even if it doesn't make sense to you as a child. So they take away the name, and Yahweh tells them, why do you take away my honor, my esteem? Where is my fear? If you claim that you honor me as a sovereign, why don't you fear me? Why do you act that way? Why do you take away my name? Obviously, if somebody, like if I am talking about somebody, I mean, let's say I'm talking about Omar with somebody else, and I say, Omar is great, I love that guy, the person will feel, will sense the honor I'm giving to Omar, right? But if instead of saying Omar, I say whatever name, then the other person won't know who I'm talking about, or will think I'm talking about somebody else that perhaps that person knows, and Omar won't get the honor. If that person gets to meet Omar, that person won't know who is Omar and how that person is and how Omar may act and whatever. So it is like that here. People are calling on a different one, so they don't know him. And Yahweh is telling them, but You took away my name. How can you say you are honoring me if you don't pronounce my name, if you don't claim my name, if you don't invoke my name? People are getting to know a different one. And that's why Yahushua, when he entered with the virgins, he said, I don't know you. I never knew you. Even though they said, but we always took out demons in your name. We did that and this and that in your name. And he's going to say, I don't know you. So a son esteems his father and a servant his sovereign. And if I am the father, where is my esteem? And if I am the sovereign, where is my fear? Look how father is connected with honor, right? For it is written in the 10 commandments, honor thy father and son, thy father and mother. And also then fear thy mother and father, for normally a person fears their father and honors their mother. So Yahweh says it first, the father, when it comes to honor, so that we don't forget that. And first, fear when it comes to the mother, so that we don't forget that. It is most people normally honor their mother and fear their father, those who have both, right? So who have had the pleasure to have both parents in their lives. So, and if I am the father, where is my esteem? I was saying all of that because Yahushua came as the son to give honor to the father, the true father. So he pronounced his name and taught his name, as John 17 says. And that's why they killed him. So he came as the son to honor the father, and they killed him for that. And now the last comes as the father. Yahushua came as the high priest. The last comes as the king. So look how Yahweh here in this verse correlates the father with the king, the sovereign, which are the couple of the things that manifest with the last, who comes as a father and as the king. Yahushua came as the son and as the high priest. The last comes as the father and as the king, the father of the 144,000 through his teaching, and as the king of the world, like Joseph, for he's a descendant of, and well, many other things that we have seen throughout these studies. So also Yahushua came to become the way to the Father and to give us the favor, meaning forgiveness of sins. Well, he is the way, and he came to give us the favor and the presence of Yahweh through his Ruach. The last is the honor, the esteem, and he comes to reveal the name and bring justice like a king. That's why people fear the king, because he's the one who brings justice. So that's why it says fear. Remember that the last is also given the fear of Yahweh, so that he receives wisdom in order to teach his children, the 144,000. So that is in Isaiah, where he's given the spirit of fear, the fear of Yahweh. And actually, I want to take this moment. Let me go to Exodus 20:20. Because a lot of people, when they hear the fear of Yahweh and that we must fear the Most High, they don't understand it, and they compare it to the fear they feel of death. For instance, the fear they feel of things like that, pain, stuff like that. So they say, how do I have to fear him? So they kind of equate the Father with death or pain and those things, because of the flesh, the inclination to evil, because of the evil heart, pretty much. So in Exodus 20:20, which I like, for it is like, in order to see the fear of Yahweh correctly, we go to Exodus 20:20. The fear of Yahweh is pretty much the opposite of what people feel when they have fear of anything in the world. It says, and Moshe said to the people, do not fear, which is the fear of the people, the fear of the flesh, what people don't like. For Elohim has come to prove you, well, right, to test you, and in order that his fear be before you, so that you do not sin. So one is the fear that we must not have, the fear of the flesh, and one is the fear of Yahweh, which we should seek. For the fear of Yahweh takes away every fear. To honor Yahweh, to love Yahweh, and therefore, if we want to use this type of fear of the flesh in order to explain this fear of the Ruach, the spirit, I would say we must fear that we don't hurt the Most High. We must fear failing the Creator, but not because we fear hell, but because we love Yahweh. So it's a different type of fear. We love Yahweh, so we are afraid of not doing right. Like when you love someone and you do everything in your power to act right and show that love. It is not fear because your loved one, quote unquote, may hurt you. That's not love. And that is not the true fear of Yahweh, right? Sadly, a lot of people, both male and female, because of the flesh, tend to think that when their partner hurts them physically, it's a sign of love somehow. And that's how twisted things become when we don't see the difference between the fear of the Ruach and the fear of the flesh, the love of Yahweh, and the illusion of it that is in this reality. So let me go back to Malaki. So, well, I just wanted to, I don't know if I read everything. Do not fear, for Elohim has come to prove you in order that his fear be before you, so that you do not sin. You see, so that you do not sin. That is the fear of Yahweh. We should fear to sin, not because of hell, but because we don't want to go against what Yahweh told us to do. We don't want to fail Yahweh, not because Yahweh needs anything, but because we need him. So, but because we need him, because we love him, of course, we please him through our actions. And that is his fear instead of the fear of the flesh. And that is also interesting because the fear of the flesh makes a person not think, sometimes even paralyzes, while the fear of the spirit makes you actually act, as in do the commandments. So if you do not want to fear, do not sin. Pretty much what it is. So let me continue. A son esteems his father, and a servant his sovereign. If I am the father, where is my esteem? In verse 6, where is my kabod, which is what the last brings or manifests from the father. My kabod, kebodi. And if I am sovereign, where is my fear? Where is my fear? Said Yahweh of hosts, to you priests who despise my name. Not only they take away the name, they despise the name. And what's interesting is that they don't even see it. They claim that it is because of the love of the name, but their actions regarding the name show that they actually despise the name, because it doesn't make sense logically that you would want to get rid of something that you claim to love. It doesn't make sense logically that you want to hide something that you actually are proud of, right? Obviously, when it comes to a treasure, you hide it to protect it. And that is why when it comes to the name, if you have the name with you, on you, you must protect it in the sense of acting like you're supposed to in order to give an example. And so that people see that name and see that example and say, oh, it's because of him, of that name, that he is that person. He acts that way. He's an example. So, to you priests who despise my name, and just like people nowadays, and almost 99% of people you talk to regarding the name, they will say exactly this. But you asked, in what way have we despised your name? How? What are you talking about? I love the name above all names. And they go and say the wrong name. And you tell them, but that's not the name. The name is this. And then they say, oh, that doesn't matter. What do you mean it doesn't matter? Haven't you read this? That doesn't matter. I call it how I want in my language. And they don't understand even what that doesn't make sense, because a name pretty much has nothing to do with the language other than the meaning of it. And if you don't pronounce the meaning of the name of the Most High or the Son, then you are not pronouncing the name in your language. The name is a word to call on a person that pretty much identifies the person and represents the whole essence of the person. And that's why the name of a person has a lot to do with forming the person throughout life. And also that's why the name of the Most High is he who causes to exist. He is existence, and therefore anything that exists is because of him, that he wanted it. And Yahushua, he who causes existence, is salvation or saves. So, but you asked, in what way have we despised your name? So they claim they pray, they gather, they congregate, they study, but they pray to a different entity. When they gather with another one, because it says, if you gather in my name, I will be with you. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I will be among them. But they gather in a different name, so it is a different spirit that is among them, with them. So they call them a different name. There's another spirit with them. Therefore, when they study, they get a different interpretation of scripture, even if they were to read it, which they don't, because the spirit won't like it if they do. It's too boring. It's too much. It's too tedious. It's crazy, etc., etc. Everything that the flesh says regarding it. But you asked, in what way have we despised your name? Just like the virgins, but we expelled demons in your name. Yahushua said, I never knew you. So they had different names and they thought they were speaking to the same one. The same here. They're like, what are you talking about? We never despised your name. But Yahweh says that they did. He who knows everything. So it is like they think they're speaking to somebody else whose name they haven't despised. And that is the confusion that taking away his name leads to. At the end, people don't even know who they're praying to. They don't know who they love. Meaning when Mashiach says you can only love one mighty one, you cannot love two. You will love one and hate the other. You cannot love Yahweh and God. So, but you asked, in what way have we despised your name? You are presenting defiled food on my slaughter place. A lot of people will read this and say, oh, you see, it has nothing to do with the name. You crazy. It has to do with the sacrifices, animal sacrifices. Interestingly enough, we have been reading a lot regarding what the Tanakh says regarding the physical sacrifices. They were not for Yahweh. He doesn't need them. He doesn't even like them. He prefers mercy, justice. And if you're going to sacrifice yourself in the sense of presenting yourself as a living sacrifice, as it is written. Sacrifice those feelings that make you go against the scripture, go against the Father, go against your brother. Sacrifice the desire to sin. That is the sacrifice that Yahweh desires. It started with sacrifices of the flesh of the animals, because our flesh in this reality is similar to that of the animals. So we need to sacrifice our flesh, but not in the literal sense, but in the spiritual, for the soul to be able to continue, grow, get to the next level. So, for instance, Yahushua told the disciples, do not eat the leaven of the Pharisees, be careful. And they thought, oh, we don't have bread. What an issue. Because they were still in the flesh. They were still in the letter. They couldn't understand that he was talking about hypocrisy. So the same goes for every other food item mentioned in scriptures. Scripture is not talking about food and drink, for the kingdom of Yahweh is not food and drink. Flesh and blood will not enter the kingdom. It's talking about spirit. Everything has to do with the spirit. And obviously there is a manifestation in the flesh, relation of what is written for the spirit with what happens in the flesh. Want to make that clear. But my point is that look how the verse is talking about honor, fear, my name. And they say, we don't despise your name. What are you talking about? Yahweh tells them, you are presenting defiled food on my slaughter place. But Yahweh also tells us, don't bring sacrifices to me. I hate your rams. I hate your sheep, etc. So he's talking about spiritual food that they were eating, false doctrines, commandments of men, the doctrines of demons, the interpretation of the letter. The letter kills, but the spirit gives life. You are presenting defiled food on my slaughter place. For instance, you see Catholics, they gather, and in front of them, they have a crucifix with the statue of a person dying or dead already, like a slaughter place. And they go there and eat defiled food, for what they are receiving is idolatry and other bunch of things that people shouldn't ingest in their soul. You are presenting defiled food on my slaughter place. Also, remember that Yahushua said, it is not what comes into the mouth that defiles a man, but it is that which comes out of the mouth that defiles a person. For that which enters goes to the stomach and then goes out, while that which goes out of the mouth comes from the heart. So Yahushua was explaining the difference between interpreting the food regarding the flesh, you think in the sense of coming in, but it must be thought of in the terms of the spirit. It is about what comes out. So look how Yahweh is saying, you don't pronounce my name. My name is not coming out of your mouth. And they say, but we haven't despised your name. And he says, because you have been presenting defiled food on my slaughter place. Out of their mouths, defiled food has come. They have become defiled through what they have been invoking. For there is a connection of the food, that which we invoke or speak, as Yahushua explained it. You are presenting defiled food on my slaughter place. So invoking false names, teaching false doctrines. So congregating in order to invoke and praise a different mighty one, and then claim that it is the one of Israel, the one of the scriptures. Reading the scriptures and then teaching something that is different than what the scripture tells us to do. You are presenting the defiled food on my slaughter place. But you asked, in what way have we defiled you? Because obviously they were bringing all the animals that were asked according to the letter. They were sacrificing everything according to all their commandments, thinking that they were fulfilling the law. Yahweh, in this physical sense, saying, you're presenting the defiled food on my slaughter place. We should, like I said, bring ourselves as a living sacrifice. They were bringing animals to die for them, as if an animal could pay for them. No way. It was just a representation of the lamb who would come and pay for us. You are presenting the defiled food. So if Mashiach is the one who came to die for us, then the defiled food which they are eating actually is the false Messiah, the spirit of error, because they are not eating the sacrificial lamb. They are eating the defiled food. But you asked, in what way have we defiled you? They don't get it because they have fulfilled everything according to what the flesh told them. Because you say the table of Yahweh is despicable. Because you say the table of Yahweh is despicable. That's how you have defiled me. You are presenting defiled food on my slaughter place. But you asked, in what way have we defiled you? Because you say the table of Yahweh is despicable. Remember that? Well, let me go and read that. Let's go to Isaiah 65 first. Isaiah 65:11. 65:11 says, but you are those who forsake Yahweh, who forget my set apart mountain, meaning his kingdom, who prepare a table for God, who prepare a table for God, like most people invoke when claiming to praise the Most High Creator. They call on God. They love God. They praise God. God is the one who blesses them according to what they claim. So in their heart, which is represented by the table, that's why the table was inside the set apart place, which represents pretty much, this part of the body where the heart is. So the table was there with bread, the lechem hapanim, the incense, well, all the things, but it represents the main part of the body. The heart is the table, and I'll show another verse to explain that. But show how it says, look how it says, who prepare a table for God. They prepare a table for God. And what is Yahweh saying in Malaki? You despise my name. How have we despised your name? Because you say the table of Yahweh is despicable when you invoke God. You prepare a table for God when you let the Spirit of God enter your heart. You are allowing the enemy to enter and claiming that you are allowing the Most High to enter. Therefore, saying that the Most High is despicable. Why? Because Satan is despicable. Because you say the table of Yahweh is despicable. How? Because they prepare a table for God. And then if we go to Revelation chapter 3, when Yahweh speaks about the congregation of Laodicea, which is interesting because he says that he will vomit them for they are lukewarm. It's interesting because it is like you eat something, but that something is bad for you. So it comes out, comes back up. So it comes out of your mouth, but it is vomit. So like I was saying, what comes out of their mouths is not what it should. And it says, verse 20, see, I stand at the door and knock. So it is like he's knocking on our lives. If anyone hears my voice, the voice of Mashiach is the last, for Mashiach is the word. Well, the last is the voice of Yahweh. Yahushua is the word of Yahweh. So the voice comes after the word. That's why first and last, word and voice, arm and hand, high priest, king. So if anyone hears my voice, the good shepherd, and opens the door, Yahushua the first. Yahushua said, I am the door and the good shepherd. Those who hear the voice of the good shepherd and follow are his sheep. So the good shepherd is the voice. Yahushua the first is the door. So look how it says, if anyone hears my voice and opens the door. So if anyone hears the last and accepts the first, so if anyone hears the true doctrine and confesses Yahushua, he's opening the door. For Yahushua, the word, the name, is the key. The person is the door. So my voice and opens the door, I shall come in to him and dine with him, and he with me. So look, dine with him. Where do you dine? At the table. But he came into the person. So we see that the heart where we place our belief in him and through which we receive righteousness according to Romans 10:10, that is the table where he becomes one with us by writing the new covenant and giving us a new heart with his commandments within it. I shall come into him and dine with him, and he with me. Those who call on his name, they prepare a table to eat with Mashiach. But those who call on God call the table of Yahweh despicable, for they are allowing a different spirit to enter them. Yeah, you see, they translated it, so I thought it was coming afterwards, but it's actually here. They translated it, this verse 7, you are presenting defiled food. But if you go to verse 7 in Hebrew, it says, you are presenting in my slaughter place, my altar, lechem, which is bread. And also lechem, which is bread, literally, is also used for food in general, as our daily bread also represents general food. It doesn't mean you only will eat bread, right? So if it's both, any kind of food, but literally is written lechem. Therefore, it's talking about the fact that they eat the wrong lechem. For Yahushua, John 6:35, is the bread of life. But they are not eating the bread of life, for they are not invoking Yahushua. They are eating a different bread, for it is not what you eat that comes into your mouth, but it is that which comes out of your mouth, which in this case will purify you. Yahushua will purify you. But if you invoke a different name, you will be defiled, for that lechem is not the one that Yahweh is requesting. So yeah, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. That's right. So Yahushua is the true bread, which we must confess and serve in our heart as the table. That's why the table had the lechem hapanim, bread on it every day new bread. Also during Shavuot, the offering was 2 pieces of bread, 2 loaves of bread that represent the 2 tablets in which the 10 commandments were written. That's why on Shavuot, 2 loaves of bread, also like the 2 witnesses, like Moshe and Aaron. But the 10 commandments, which would be written on our heart, the 10 commandments written on our heart, just like the 10 commandments had two parts, like the heart has two parts as well. So, lechem. And like I was saying, the two loaves of bread on Shavuot, like the two tablets of the Ten Commandments, like the bread that was on the table, showing how the table is the heart, the commandments should be there within our heart. Yahushua is the bread who fulfilled all the commandments. So if we believe, confess his name, it's like eating of that bread. So we are receiving life through the fulfillment of the commandments through him. And obviously, then we become able to fulfill them once we eat the bread that gives us the strength to do them. Just like we just read yesterday in the book of Shemuel, how Jonathan ate honey and was feeling better. His eyesight became better. He was able to see, spiritually speaking, once he ate of the word, which is like honey. He was able to see, he received the light in his eyes, while the other ones, they were under a curse, so they couldn't eat and they were hungry. And then they ate blood because they were so hungry they couldn't wait and do the things right. So they ended up eating blood. Jonathan ate honey, yet God, luck, ended up choosing Jonathan to die, accusing him of eating honey, which is a very interesting story. We saw it yesterday, so I'm not going to get into it much more. But I'll continue. So Yahushua is the lechem, the bread of life. We must receive him. So it says, you are presenting the file lechem on my slaughtered place, but you asked him, what way have we defiled you? Because you say the table of Yahweh is despicable because they are putting a different bread. And when you present the blind as a slaughtering, right? When they would present an animal that was blind, you were supposed to bring the best animal that you had. If the best animal that you had is blind, then you are in trouble. Obviously, that was them bringing the worst animal. They were getting rid of whatever they needed to get rid of by bringing it to the Most High in the temple. So not even that which they had left, but that which was the worst of that which was left after they would enjoy everything that Yahweh gave them. So instead of bringing the best, which is when you get everything, then you can choose what's the best. But if you get everything and you go through it, consuming everything that you see and have, at the end what you have left, you decide to give that to the Father, that is not the right way. You are just giving leftovers to the Father who gave you everything. So you're not understanding honor. You're not understanding where it comes from. You are thinking that you are giving a favor to the Father, that you helping the Father, not understanding that you are helping yourself. Like in the good sense, if you return to the Father his honor, instead of helping yourself in the negative sense of taking everything for yourself and not thinking in those in need, not thinking in those around you, whoever may be that may be helped by you. So they would bring the blind ram, the blind lamb to be sacrificed. In the spiritual sense, it is like a teacher, a pastor, who will eventually come to the Father, or every day in a way is coming to the Father, presenting his congregation, saying, here are the people that you put by, under my care. This is what I taught them. This is what they're doing. And Yahweh sees that, looks at the congregation and sees that they cannot understand a thing. They don't know anything in scripture. So they are blind spiritually. They are walking blindly. They don't even know in what way they are going, for they are blind spiritually. Those are the sheep that most pastors are bringing to the Father, to the Creator, but not by not teaching the true doctrine to them. And when you present the blind as a slaughtering, is it not evil? By pretty much bringing a person that you are helping, quote unquote, you are teaching about the Father, but you end up teaching him about Satan as if he was the Father. Imagine how evil that can be and the punishment that that deserves. So you are blinding, like those people are blinding their sheep by their teaching, and then they are presenting those blinded animals, or well, yeah, sheep, to the Father. And sadly, through the false doctrine, they act as animals. And when you present the blind as a slaughtering, is it not evil? And when you present the lame and sick, is it not evil? Those who are lame and sick, the same sense, because of the teaching, they can barely walk in the way. They can barely walk in the sense of knowing that Yahushua is the way and that we must go in that way, not just stay or go to left and right instead of directly. Those who are sick because they don't have the spirit of life. They are sick with worry, with anxiety, with fear, with an emptiness in their heart, with depression. And when you present the lame and the sick, is it not evil? Bring it then to your governor. I love that, because since they cannot see Yahweh, they pretty much don't honor him and don't bring to him through whatever mean Yahweh presents to them what they must, the honor that he deserves, the prayers, and even offerings for instance, his word to be known by more people in order for everything to be fulfilled finally. So people, like we were seeing, they would bring the blind, the sick, the lame to offer it as if it was the best they had. So Yahweh tells them, okay, then try with your governor, try with your leader. Let's see if he will accept it. Then the people would say, oh, no, no, no. He will be angry, of course. So that means they respect and honor more those of the earth who are wicked, most of them, than Yahweh, who is good. Bring it then to your governor. Would he be pleased with you? Would he accept you favorably? Said Yahweh of hosts. Obviously not. And now entreat the face of El, the mighty one, to show favor to us. And now entreat the face of El to show favor to us. This has been done by your hands. Would he show favor to you? Said Yahweh of hosts. So Yahweh himself is telling them to seek him, his presence. And now entreat the face of El, right? When Yahweh is looking at us, has his face in our direction, then we are doing good. If he turns his face from us, then darkness pretty much surrounds us. So, and now entreat the face of El to show favor to us. This has been done by your hands. This is important. This has been done by your hands. We cannot blame Yahweh for the consequences of any bad thing that we do. For anything that we do wrong, we cannot blame others. And if we are going through something that we don't deserve, Yahweh is using it to purify us, to make us grow, and eventually will bring vengeance on those who did wrong. And also even reward us for staying strong and faithful even through something that seemed illogical. This has been done by your hands. Would he show favor to you? Said Yahweh of hosts. Who among you who would shut the doors? Who among you who would shut the doors so that you would not kindle fire on my slaughter place for naught? Who among you would who among you who would shut the doors so that you would not kindle fire on my slaughter place for naught? I have no pleasure in you. I have no pleasure in you. So look how everything started with calling Yaakov and Esau, one he loves and the other one he hated. But now, while he's talking to the one he loves, he's telling them, I have no pleasure in you, because they have become like Asaph, sadly, because of the false doctrine, because they were convinced by Asaph that they were Asaph. So I have no pleasure in you. This is interesting. I repeat, Yahweh tells us, I love Israel, I hate Asaph. But now he's saying, I don't have pleasure in you, whom I love. Why? Because you're acting like Asaph. You look, act, speak, believe like Asaph. So I have no pleasure in you, said Yahweh of hosts, nor do I accept an offering from your hands. Nor do I accept an offering from your hands. So everything that they were bringing to him wasn't him taking it. It was somebody else, an angel. Nor do I accept an offering from your hands. For from the rising of the sun, look at this, which I mentioned earlier, even. From the rising of the sun, the east, the beginning of time. From the rising of the sun, even to its going down, the west, the end of time. My name is great among nations. My name is great among nations. He became known by all the nations during the Exodus. Now the name of his son will become known before the second Exodus. And he will be completely known by the entire creation. For from the rising of the sun even to its going down, my name is great among nations. And in every place, incense is presented to my name. Prayer. Incense, we see in the book of Revelation, that represents the good deeds of the righteous, which go up as a fragrance to the Father, and it pleases him. Also represents prayers. That's why to pray in his name is like bringing incense to his place. And in every place, incense is presented to my name. We could say in every place, prayer is presented in my name. Good deeds are done because of me. Yahweh, of course, right? And in every place, incense is presented to my name, and a clean offering. So if you do it to his name, instead of despising and taking away his name, if you do it to his name, then it is a clean offering. Because we have Hebrews 13:15, that we should offer a sacrifice of praise, meaning the fruit of our lips, confessing his name. That is a clean offering. And in every place, incense is presented to my name, and a clean offering. For my name is great among nations, said Yahweh of hosts. Look how we mentioned it twice. My name is great among nations. My name is great among nations. Because that represents Eye Asher Eye, the first and second Exodus. I will be whom I will be, the first and last. For my name is great among nations, said Yahweh of hosts. And he says it twice, like the east and the west, beginning and end, first and last. But you are profaning me. You are profaning me in that you say the table of Yahweh is defiled, and its fruit is food is despicable. Just a second, because it might be lechem again. Verse 12. Verse 12. You have the table, the shulchan of the sovereign. Yeah, in this case, it is food. That which is consumed, pretty much. All right, so, but you are profaning me in that you say the table of Yahweh is defiled, confirming it. They have a different spirit in their heart. They have allowed a different entity to enter through calling on God, for instance, like Isaiah 65:11 said it. But you are profaning me in that you say the table of Yahweh is defiled, and its food is despicable. Look how it says the fruit of what? Pretty much of the table of Yahweh. How can the fruit come from the table? In fact, I don't know if you know, but there is a custom to have food on the table always, and people believe that will bring always food. Like there was a custom to always have food on the table, in the middle of the table, and that would attract always food. So it's interesting that it says the fruit of the table, pretty much. And like I was saying, so it is like something that comes out of the table, just like the words that come out of your heart. The fruit of our lips is the fruit of the table because it comes out of our heart. So by these words, we can see that it is talking about that which comes out of our mouth, words that come from the table, which is our heart. Because obviously the food comes from other place and we put it on the table. We eat it there, but we brought it from somewhere else. Yet here is that is as the food coming from the table. My point is, like what we read in Hebrews 13:15, that we must offer a sacrifice of praise, the fruit of our lips, confessing his name. And the words that come out of our mouths come from the treasure of our heart as the table. So, but you are profaning me in that you say the table of Yahweh is defiled, and its food is despicable. As saying the fruit of Yahweh, his teachings are despicable by hating the scriptures, by hating justice, by seeing the scriptures and saying, oh, he's wicked, he's evil. Look, whatever they claim he did and don't understand, and therefore complain and reject him. And you said, oh, what weariness. And you sneered at it, said Yahweh of hosts. They hate doing what he says that we must do. They love putting themselves in chains. They love putting themselves under a master, a lord, Baal, as slaves, I mean, because obviously Yahweh freed us from slavery to become slaves of justice. We serve Yahweh. He bought us from sin. So we work for justice, for righteousness. But like Mashiach said, that his yoke is easy and his the burden, pretty much, yeah, I guess that's the word he uses, right? And the burden heavy. Well, in this case, the burden is heavy, that of sin, like the burden of Cain when he realized the guilt for killing his brother. But Yahushua says his burden and his yoke is light and easy. So if it becomes hard, is because we are going away from the true way of the Father, for the truth makes us free from illusion, from those chains of the commandments of men and other things. But those who follow the false doctrine, they are weary and don't know why, because they are on a different path. Or we could say those who are of the evil one, when they for a moment enter the true way, to them is weariness. They hate it. It's boring. So there are a couple ways in which we can see this depending on the person. And you said, oh, what weariness, and you sneered at it, said Yahweh of hosts. And you brought in plunder. And you brought in plunder and the lame and the sick. Thus, you have brought in the offering. Should I accept this from your hand? Said Yahweh. And you brought in plunder and the lame and the sick. Plunder, like that which is taken from the spoils of war, basically from killing others, like the plunder that had the animals from whom they ate with blood. Remember that I mentioned Shaul in the book of Shemuel, when Shaul put them under a curse not to eat after the war. And then after the war, they were so hungry they ended up eating with blood from the plunder. So it is similar here. And you brought in plunder and the lame and the sick. Thus you have brought in the offering. Should I accept this from your hand? Said Yahweh. Obviously, that's a no. But cursed be the deceiver. But cursed be the deceiver who has a male in his flock and makes a vow, but is slaughtering to Yahweh what is blemished. So cursed be the deceiver who is so incredibly deceived that thinks that he can deceive the creator of all, the truth itself. But cursed be the deceiver who has a male in his flock and makes a vow, but it's slaughtering to Yahweh what is blemished. So look how he mentions the vow. Because of the vow, he must bring that which he vowed to the slaughtering place. My point is that if there was no vow, then he wouldn't have to bring anything. He wouldn't be under accusation, under sin. But since he made a vow, he must bring what he vowed. But when he comes, instead, he brings that which is blemished, not the male from the flock that represents Mashiach. So he doesn't bring Mashiach. He brings that which is blemished through the confession of the vow that they made. So, and cursed, ve'arur, nokel, the one who has the male right here, mashchat, but sacrifices that which is blemished. So, but cursed be the deceiver who has a male in his flock, who knows of Mashiach, who knows that Yahushua came as the Messiah, but that person doesn't accept it, doesn't want that, and makes a vow, but is slaughtering to Yahweh what is blemished. They claim to be believers in the Creator, but every time they pray, every time they act, they do it for different reasons than for the Creator. They pray to another one. They invoke a different name. They reject Mashiach, the male in the flock. For I am a great sovereign, said Yahweh of hosts, and my name is feared among nations. My name is feared among nations. So feared that people don't want to call on it. So feared that when you tell other people to say it, they're afraid of doing it and they don't want to, and they hate it and they avoid it. So obviously he became known, and he's about to be known for eternity by everybody very soon. And like I said, first Exodus is when his name was known by all the nations. So this refers to the second Exodus happening